and salutations, everyone. Thank you for joining my podcast for yet another edition of Frank the Lunatic Rants. Hey there, hi there, ho there, everyone. I'm your congenial host, Frank the Lunatic, here for yet another delightful, entertaining, informative, and boring edition of Frank the Lunatic Rants. And tonight's topic for discussion is Vaxed versus Unvaxed. That's right, vaccinated people versus unvaccinated people. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining me. And our topic is discussion, as I originally said, was vaxxed versus unvaccinated people. And this is what I am getting at, people, because restrictions have been lifted in many places across the country. For example, right here in Pennsylvania, there's just some observations that I've been noticing. I don't even know if that's a proper phrase. Some observations I've been noticing. Well, yeah, I would be noticing them. They're observations, so of course I would have noticed them. Anyway, in regards to the vax versus unvaccinated people, this is what I am getting at. There's sort of a, I guess you can call it unintentional segregation. I guess that's would be the correct wording for it, between vaccinated people and unvaccinated people within the United States. First of all, one of the things that I have noticed as I was traveling on tour recently was that people are lying out their damn asses. Everything seems to be working on the honor system in this country right now regarding the vaccinations, indicating if you're vaccinated or not. And for example, right here in Pennsylvania, as in some other areas, they have signs up saying that you are welcome into a store or facility without a mask as long as you are vaccinated. However, if you're not vaccinated, it is suggested, recommended, or required by the store that you wear a mask. And in Pennsylvania, the business does also reserve the right to say everyone wears a mask regardless. With that being said, the things that I have observed lately is that people are lying out their damn asses as you walk around many of these places in Pennsylvania. For example, take things like Walmart right here in the Scranton area. Go to Walmart in Dixon City, Pennsylvania, or Walmart in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, and walk around. I can guarantee the number of people that you see with actual masks on, you could probably count on one or maybe two hands, versus the other 157,000 people that are in the Walmart without any mask. Now, statistically, it's impossible. It is physically impossible to have that many people that are vaccinated within that area, just like in the Scranton area. You walk around, nobody's wearing a mask. Literally, 99.99% of the people out there do not have a mask on. So let me get this correct. In a state that is only something like 50-something% vaccinated, you are trying to tell me of the 50% of the population of the state of Pennsylvania that are vaccinated, that basically something like 80% of that 50% are located in the Scranton area. It must be, because when you walk around, no one has freaking masks on whatsoever. So in other words, people are lying through their goddamn asses about being vaccinated. And that's where part of the problem is right now. People are being freaking yambags in regards to it and taking advantage of a situation. So you're going around saying, look, I'm vaccinated, even though they're not, knowing damn well that nobody under HIPAA regulations actually has the right to demand to see your vaccination card. By the way, people, get that through your heads. No one has the right to see your vaccination card. That is something that is considered private under the HIPAA regulations because it contains sensitive medical information, basically your vaccinations. Unless you willingly give up that information, just like at schools, you have to sign a thing, that you're giving that information. Basically, only your primary care physician or any doctor that you're actually seeing, that you're under their care, or if you're taking to the hospital, for example, medical personnel are the only ones that can request that information. Anyone can ask you if you're vaccinated, but they cannot ask you to present proof. And as far as I know under HIPAA, that includes the federal government as well as law enforcement, stuff like that. Only basically medical people who you're under their care or going to be under their care can request that information. So that's an issue right there. So, as I said, you walk around, you see all these people in Scranton with no mask on. I find it completely, statistically, mathematically, and realistically impossible that that high of percentage of people in the Scranton area are vaccinated. Because I'm sure if I travel outside of Scranton, I go to Wilkes-Barre, I go to Pittston, I go to other areas in Pennsylvania, I'm sure I will find the same thing, that people are walking around without masks, especially in businesses that are not requiring you to wear a mask unless you're not vaccinated. It's the honor system, and unfortunately, people are being dishonorable in regards to it. But of course, this is all going to turn around and bite us all in the ass in any state that has rules like Pennsylvania does. Going to bite us in the ass this fall, because what's happening right now? People out there going out on vacation, for example. This is stuff that hasn't been going on for a while. And people are not social distancing anymore in stores, or even if you travel. I was on vacation in the Jersey area, going through a tour, and we were on our Jersey Shore Tour 2021. It was around different areas. And the one thing I noticed is people walking around the boardwalk, and really nobody really had masks on. Maybe some elderly people did, but for the most part, a lot of people were walking around without masks. Once again, using the honor system. Statistically, mathematically, and realistically, once again, it is physically impossible to have that many vaccinated people in that small corner of the earth when only 50% or 60% of the population is actually vaccinated. If everyone on the East Coast are the ones that are vaccinated, and that's why they're walking around without masks, well, wouldn't that mean that at least something like 3/4 of the rest of the country should have masks on at the moment? Come on, people. Let's get real here. You're all lying out your asses. And it's all going to turn around and bite everyone in the ass when cases start spiking up in the fall after the summer because of all the close contacts that are going on. Of course, it brings up another thing as well. Some places, well, New Jersey, for example, I don't believe you need masks whatsoever. I don't recall seeing signs about masks. At least nobody was wearing one down there for the most part. But it still brings us to the topic of vaxxed versus non-vaxxed. And what I'm particularly talking about is how there's going to be a biasness, I guess. Because after all, if you're non-vaccinated, like here in Pennsylvania, it's telling you have to wear a mask. And the one thing I've noticed that people are doing when there are people who do not have masks on, people are eyeing them. You're basically getting eyeballed and noticed. You are sticking out like a sore thumb, and people are not that they're avoiding you, but they're noticing. You know, they might be indirectly trying to avoid you, things like that, because you're not vaccinated. And then when the truth be known, they're probably not vaccinated as well, and that's why they are avoiding you. Yeah, imagine that. Faking vaccination. The other thing is that it is, singling people out again, showing, sort of a type of segregation, if you will. Because after all, schools going back, for example, there's a lot of debate over that, about forcing vaccinations, because after all, this isn't like the measles and the mumps. Technically, this is almost basically a cold in a sense. It's a cold that kills you. Anyhow, there's debate over school districts whether or not they can be allowed to enforce children to be vaccinated to come back. And of course, it brings up the age-old question about vaccinations. After all, there are people out there who do not get their kids vaccinated, and there has to be exemptions for school, religious exemptions, things like that. People that feel that there is the connection with autism and vaccinations as well. So what are schools going to do? You're going to see a segregation going on. You're going to see things like 2 6th grade classroom settings. 1 6th grade classroom are going to be kids not social distance because they are vaccinated according to their medical records that were submitted to the school. And then you're going to have the classroom of children who are socially distanced and required to wear masks because they are not vaccinated. So there is going to be a form of legalized segregation in this country for as long as it takes, basically. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's basically going to happen no matter what. They're not going to let everybody into a classroom. They're not. I can't see it happening. They're not going to let kids who are not vaccinated be in classrooms with kids who are vaccinated and not have them social distance, because I hate to break it to you, but there is really nothing that says that somebody who has the vaccine, all it says is that you probably won't die. You can still probably carry the virus on you. The proof really, there's a lot of things that they haven't researched that are not out there, not enough factual information. So what are they going to do? How would you actually have all these kids in the same setting? So there's going to be a segregation out there, which along with it brings bullying, teasing, all that stuff is going to wind up going on. Not only that, but even in the regular world, in working environments, you're going to see some form of segregation. There's going to be something going on between people that are vaccinated and people that choose not to be vaccinated for whatever the reason is. You have every right. This is the United States of America, people. You have every right to choose whether or not you want to be vaccinated or not. I'm sorry, federal government can't say you must be vaccinated. It doesn't work like that. There's so much debate that would wind up going up to the Supreme Court in regards to this. So you're causing, in a sense, a type of segregation. It wouldn't surprise me if you're going to see that at some point in things like restaurants. Everything. All these places having sections for vaccinated and not vaccinated. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It sounds like, segregation of the 50s and 60s. But this has nothing to do with race. It's basically coming back. I had one of the Cupcake twins actually brought up something interesting that until she brought it up, I never even considered this whatsoever. She had brought up that she remembers learning in school, in regards to things being, say, segregated and singling people out, that this whole thing with, first of all, carrying your card, that you have to carry your vaccination card around, it's sort of a remnants of back during communism, when you were a card-carrying member of the Communist Party or you weren't, even though you lived in a communist country. And people that were card carriers had different privileges, or things would be handled differently as opposed to people who were not card carriers of the communist party, even though the whole country was communist. So it's sort of the same thing that, you're carrying a card. So I say, okay, I can see that. And then she also brought up the whole comparison to World War II, or, prior to World War II with Adolf Hitler and Germany, a process that was done there. The way we have vaxxed and unvaxxed, you had the Jews, the German Jews, and the non-German Jews. Excuse me, I said that wrong. You had the German Jews and you had the Germans who were not Jewish. And people who were German Jews had to have identification on them indicating that they were Jewish. And then they had, I believe there were cards they carried, I believe. And she was saying, again, you tend to forget this, the whole things that you had to wear, the star. There was things they had, I think it might have been the Star of David. There was something that you had to wear. And this is before they actually started shipping people off to concentration camp. This is how they basically identified people that were Jewish, because it was easier to single them out and pick them off. Later on, when they started shipping people, just taking people during the night or during the day and, shipping them out to concentration camp. I'm not saying there's going to be concentration camps in this country. What I'm saying, it's something similar. We're going to be forced to identify people that are vaxxed versus people who are unvaxxed. And right now, you're doing it by having the mask on. If you have a mask on, there's a 99.99999% chance that you are not vaccinated. Now, there are some people that actually are wearing a mask that are vaccinated, just to be considerate of others, because again, these people feel like I feel that, nothing's 100%. These things haven't been tested enough. You have no way of knowing, honestly, if this thing is being transmitted or not. These, people that are still catching COVID, how do you know they didn't get it from somebody who is vaccinated but is somehow carrying the virus on them? We're not testing this stuff out. So I can see that. It's almost like a segregation out there. That's going to be happening. You're going to see issues with them in regards to people vaccinated and not vaccinated. And again, you have every right to choose whether you want to be vaccinated or not. But as I said, the problem I see is that there's going to be segregation. I can see it happen, even movie theaters. I can see that happening where you're going to have one part of the movie theater for people who are vaccinated, one part where things are socially distanced on seats for people who are not vaccinated. Because how are you going to keep people separated that are not vaccinated? And again, it is still going back to the honor system. And unfortunately, there's a lot of dishonest people out there. who are walking around without masks that aren't vaccinated. So it's eventually it's all going to come around and all bite us in the ass because people were just falling into the whole trap, falling into the thing with the federal government, saying how, yeah, after a certain date, you don't need a mask and this and that, all this whole false hope. They're creating more problems. That's what they're doing, is creating more problems by dropping the whole mask mandate and saying if you're vaccinated, you don't have to have a mask. Well, then show me the freaking scientific, proven, tested results on paper. And I'm not talking about some study that was done over a couple months. You show me the long-term thing that basically says that people that are vaccinated in no way, shape, or form have any way of contracting the virus and spreading it. Because there is no proof. Yes, there's proof that it prevents you from getting sick from the virus. You still contracted the virus. You did. Because that's how the thing's preventing you from getting sick. You have to catch the virus in order to say it prevented you from getting sick. It's not like a can of off that you spray on to keep insects away. It's not like that. It's just like getting a vaccination for mumps or the chickenpox virus. You're still exposed to the virus. You still come in contact with the virus. It's not like bug spray where it just goes and kills it. All this does is that the virus winds up in your system and it stops it from doing harm. It does not prevent the virus from entering your system. There is no such thing as that at all. And this is what we're allowing people to believe, somehow, is that this is the miracle cure, that you will not catch the virus whatsoever, that you can't spread it. It's a bunch of lies. It really is. You show me the proof on paper that you cannot spread this virus at all if you are vaccinated, because it's impossible. Viruses are out there. They're surrounding you all the time, in the air, on things, multiple things, viruses and that. There's so many things out there. How do you think the flu happens? The flu just doesn't happen because somebody coughed on you. Somebody coughed on something recently that you might have touched, and now you have it. I'm sure the things like the flu and that spread by people who were vaccinated, because you're touching something, or you're breathing in air that you were in contact with somebody who might have the virus. All that happens is that you didn't get infected, but the virus still came in contact with you. There's a big difference that they're misleading people about. Again, matter of personal choice, as I said before in other podcasts regarding this topic. Know the facts before you make a decision of what you want. If you want to be vaccinated or not, make an educated decision based upon what's right for you. Anyhow, I am once again Frank the Lunatic. I, of course, as always, have approved this message. And that, for now, my friends, is all I have to say about that.
Yay! Birthday card! Birthday card! Birthday card! Birthday card! Birthday card! I get birthday card! Birthdays are the best ever! Do you like birthdays? I like birthday cakes! Do you?
Birthday!